Hi there, welcome back. And today I'm looking at this. This is the Comica CVM-WM300A. Now this, as you can see probably from the box, is a set of wireless lav microphones. So this is Group A, as they call it. There are 4 groups in total, but Group A comes with 2 transmitters and 1 receiver, as you can see there. And I'm quite excited to review this because not only has it got some sort of fairly decent features on it and looks to be a nicely made product, it's also not a Sennheiser. And all the mics, all the lav mics I've ever used in the past have been Sennheiser. So I'm really interested to know at this price point how this compares to a Sennheiser set. Now, this isn't a low-end product. This will set you back about £430 for this set. But if you slap a Sennheiser badge on this and get an equivalent kind of dual transmitter and receiver set, you'll be looking in the region of more £600–700 upwards. So this is incredibly good value if it works well. Now, some of you may only be interested in how these microphones sound because that's obviously crucial when it comes to a microphone. If you are, jump to this time code now and you can find out, you can take a listen to those audio tests. But for now, let's take a look at what's in the box. While I unpackage this, here are a few of the key features of the product. You've got them listed on the back of the box here, but I'll put them up on screen for you as well. Let's just get into here. All right, so the first thing to note is that these come packaged in this really rather nice Pelly case. So, well, I don't know whether this is an official Pelly case or not, probably not, but it's a pretty tough case nonetheless by the feel of things. And this is, this is what you get them packaged in. So let's just pop this open and take a look. Which is the bottom and which is the top? It feels like that's the top. Am I right? Yes, I'm right. Good. Okay. So here's what we get with these devices. This is what you get for your money. We have a authorized dealer card there. And here's your user manual, which I usually wouldn't pay too much attention to. Yes, I'm one of those people. But in this case, I think I will, because there's probably quite a lot to, potentially quite a bit to programming these. And then we have the devices themselves, and these are solid metal construction, designed that way for shielding as much as anything else, I think. But let's take a closer look at one of these. This is the receiver unit, so you've got your dual antennas on the top there, quarter wave antennas for the frequencies that you're dealing with. And it's a solid unit there with charging port on the bottom, micro USB charging port. So these contain lithium polymer batteries, and the claimed battery life is about 10 hours, which, I don't know, that seems fine for a day's use. Of course, it is quite handy to just be able to swap them out and chuck new batteries in. But the benefit of USB charging is that you can use power banks and things like that, and loads more people have got chargers available when you're dealing with USB stuff. So there's the receiver unit. Now let's take a look at one of the transmitters. Same metal, solid metal construction. I mean, these are solid. These are like tanks. Very nice in the hand. Really, really solid build. And there's your microphone input there, infrared. So assuming these can be programmed and then copied from one to the other. Didn't look at the top of here, did I? Just realised. Okay, so on this we've got 2 outputs, which is handy. So you can, if you're using a camera that doesn't have a headphone out, doesn't have the ability to monitor, you can monitor straight from the pack with this headphone out. And this is your standard out into the camera. So let's see, there we go. There's the second receiver. So those 2 are clearly identical. That goes without saying. Very nice. And then, so as well as that, we have these bags here. I'm going to just unpack these and let's see what we get in those. So here we have one of the microphones with retention. So you've got retention screws here so they stay in place. I would expect that. Really nice to have. And then we have a foam cover on the mic, but there's the actual mic there. What's this one? Okay, so this is a standard, so this is for cameras that don't have XLR, I guess. You can just use your, you know, out there, put the output there into the receiver here and go straight into your camera mic input. And then we have another bag, which contains our second microphone here, exactly the same as the first. And I don't know what the spec of the mics is regarding sort of omnidirectional and stuff. There's our USB charging cable, but you know, loads of people, it's odd that it's a flat one. You don't see too many flat USB cables around like that. But yeah, standard micro USB, so I'm sure people have got millions of those lying around. And then let's move on. We have our XLR connector, so our male XLR to go into any kind of pro audio connections. Again, from the receiver out there. And then we have a second charging cable. And then this one we have. Oh, okay, right, nice. Fantastic. So you get a branded Comica wind muff, so proper wind protection there. So if this isn't sufficient, I mean, if I was indoors, I would probably use them like that actually, but if that isn't sufficient, you've also got that included as well. So I'm guessing, yeah, another second one of those as well. There we go. And then in this section here, we have, oh, okay, so that'll fit to the bottom of one of these and allow it to connect to the hot shoe on a camera, on the top of a camera. Or it can just presumably just, yeah, you don't have to use that, do you? What else have we got then? Ah, right, so these are the belt clips. So these will, there should be two of these. Oh, there's three of these, right. So you can use these to hook up, to go onto the back of here. And this can obviously attach this, you know, just as a clip to attach to your belt or your trousers or your whatever, you know, your talents bottom or I don't know. So there we go. That's what's in the box. Very nice package there. And really nice box that they come in too. Okay, so let's see how these things sound. Well, first thing I've done is I've just hooked up one of the transmitters to my camera here. So in one of the XLR ins, I've got my Comica pack, so the receiver for the Comica, and on the other XLR in, I've got my normal Sennheiser EW100 G3 and the ME2 microphone that I use. And while these things, you know, take a listen to it. What do you think? This is the Comica microphone that I'm using at the moment. These things, obviously, I reckon they can stand on their own, but there's no doubt that Sennheiser stuff is the industry leader as far as these kind of things are concerned. So I think it's fair to stack the two side by side and see what value you're getting from the Comica stuff. So here we go. This is an audio test, just using the lav mic at the moment. I've got no foam on it at all because there's no, I'm inside here, there's no air movement at all. So I'm just using it exactly where I always use a lav mic. So let's now just see if I can slide this along on my jumper and put my Sennheiser one. I've tried to match the levels as closely as I can. 2, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so now I've got both of them fitted and let's do a switch between them. So this is the Comica mic that I'm using now. And this is the Sennheiser mic that I'm using now. I'm going to use them both completely flat, no kind of EQ, nothing at all. The only thing I will do is match the levels. I've tried to do that, but I'll try and do that again. So this is the Comica one. This is the Comica microphone, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. How does this sound? I should read a bit of text actually to fairly test these, shouldn't I? And this is the Sennheiser ME2 into the standard Sennheiser pack. So can you hear a difference? Which do you prefer? Well, let me know about that in the comments. But let's take a look in a bit more detail at the product itself and all the settings and things like that, the menu options in the receiver and in the transmitter. All right, so firstly, let's take a look at the transmitter side of things. You can see just on the right-hand side here that the receiver is, that both those lights at the top of that receiver are flashing green at the moment. That's because it's not receiving anything and none of the transmitters are synced up with it. So as soon as I turn this device on, you should see that one of those lights, even though they're a bit out of focus, you can see the one on the left there has just stopped flashing. So we've got our really nice clear display here, which I hope is coming through okay on the camera. But that's showing us the channel that the device is on. It's also showing us which group this is part of, because of course you've got two transmitters, so one will be group A, one will be group B. And then we have our signal, and this L denotes that this is currently set to transmit on low power mode. So these can be changed between low, medium and high RF power, which is a really nice feature because it allows you to save battery. If you know you're only going to be literally a meter from the camera or something like that, you can set those to low and save a lot of power. The A here denotes group A, and then we've got our microphone there, which shows you whether you've got audio coming in. Audio coming in is also shown by the green light on the top, because there's a mute function here on the power button, which if you quickly press it, just enables audio mute on the mic. So if you want to quickly just be sure that nothing you're saying is getting out, you can just hit that mute button, and then of course you get a little cross through the microphone there. Then we've got our power, our battery indicator, and then our audio meter down the bottom here, which is nicely stepped actually. You've got your kind of low level stuff, you've got the kind of ideal range, and then you've got your high range there too. And to prove that, I'm gonna actually plug a mic into this. So let's plug this into here now. And you can see now, even though the mic's a little bit far away from me, so you can see there now that the audio level it's pretty responsive. Relatively slow drop off on the meters, but that's fine. You can see everything you need to see there, and it's clear whether or not it's peaking or not. So yeah, really nice clear display. Let's get into the menus and take a look at those. So jumping back here, I'm going to try and keep the display on. We can change the backlight time on that display. So if I just press set here and go through the menu options, we've got the group settings, so this switches the device between group A and B. Input setting can be mic, or it can also be line in as well. Then we've got our low cut filter, which isn't on at the moment, but can be set there. RF power, that's where you set the RF power I was just talking about, enabling that muting option there. Backlight time, and let's see if I can just change that. So press set and hold down set, and then just set it to 0, going to set that to 30 seconds, press set, and we're done. Language English, reset the device, version number, and then back to the settings again. It's as simple as that. It's really, really straightforward to use. If you want to change the channel you're on, you just press set on there. Just press set here and hold down, and then you can increase the channel number there to adjust the frequency that the device is using. That's the transmitter side. So let's take a look at the receiver side. Of course, it's going to be very similar really, but the receiver has your kind of two outputs here on top, as I mentioned before, one for headphone, one for just standard output to the camera. And yeah, let's take a look. And we've got on the receiver, we've got both Group A and Group B, because we need to be able to monitor both. So when there's audio coming in on the mic, you'll see both those level meters operating. And go and press set here and go into the options. We've got output mode mono or stereo, you see, because if you only have one, if you're only using this with one pack, you will only really want your output mode to be mono, because then you're sending both channels into the camera. If you only want to send one channel into the camera, you can do that. That works okay. And then we have setting group A. So this denotes whether or not you're changing the settings for group A or group B. And then we have group A setting power on, so you can completely disable it, because at the moment it's obviously looking for it, but you can completely disable group A there so that it only ever looks for group B. And then you've got your separate audio level for each of the groups too. At the moment I've got it set to volume 4 because I reduced that earlier because I realized it's a relatively hot output. I don't know, maybe I had it in there for not too sure when I did my quick test before. I hope not. And yeah, so you can adjust the volumes on both of those. Let me just go back into those settings for you. And then we've got our channel auto scan, and then syncing up between two devices, receiver and transmitter. And then we have our backlight time for the receiver, language, reset, version, and back to the front page. So dead straightforward, really neat devices, really simple to set up. I mean, it couldn't really get more straightforward, but some nice functionality there. I particularly like the fact that you can use these for line in, and I particularly like the fact that you've got the choice to reduce the RF power if you want to. So, a lovely set of devices. I'm going to check the audio now and see how they actually sounded, because I'm kind of doing this as I'm going along here. So let's see how they sound, and I'm going to draw a conclusion from that as to whether these are worth £430 of your money. Although wireless mics are becoming more popular, I think it's fair to say that they are still fairly specialist devices. If you were to ask 500 people whether or not they regularly use a wireless mic, I think most people would say no. As such, I reckon you can probably put them into 4 main market segments. Firstly, you've got your budget mics. They are your mostly sort of sub £50, limited number of channels, poor build quality, and usually very questionable audio quality. Then you've got your sort of vlogger range, and they're becoming increasingly popular. They are decent audio quality and they're about £100 to £200, so they're a decent and attractive price. However, they tend to have limitations in other areas, so they might use the 2.4 gigahertz band, which has spectrum-wise, is not dedicated to microphones, so it has limited output power and therefore limited range. The build quality is usually not so high. So they have their limitations, but can offer a good solution. Then we have our professional. So entry-level professional and professional. They are kind of the packs that you see used in broadcast, corporate video work, and they start at around about £400 upwards. And they're your kind of Sennheiser EW100s and that type of microphone. And then finally, at the top, we have your absolute best of the best. They're your sort of Electrosonics, Sanken mics, no compander, full digital across the board. And yeah, they are kind of £3,000 upwards, and and the rest, So they are 8 times the price probably of your initial kind of entry-level broadcast range, but they are superb quality. They are built to last and do a great job, but I'm kind of leaving them to one side because they're completely out of the scope of this video, really. I'm never going to own a set of those. I'm going to need to own a set of those. I think the Comica mics fit very nicely into your sort of broadcast area. They slot nicely in with the quality of those Sennheiser mic packs that you see in studio use, in corporate video use. They are where the Comica mics sit, no question. The build quality is superb, the functionality is superb, the audio quality is superb. And I'm finding it hard to fault this product because it comes as a whole package. You get your kind of Peli case, you get everything you need, you get your windscreens, you get the dead cats with them, you've got 2 transmitters and a receiver for an incredibly good price. It's not super cheap. I mean, £430 is still £430, but it is incredibly good value for what you get. And if I was to fault anything on these, well, okay, fair enough. You could say, yeah, you're going to need a license to use these. Make sure you buy the right one and you will need a license to use it. That's not a fault. That's just standard with lav mics. They're a little bit on the heavy side. The solid construction makes them quite heavy. And I can imagine that being a little tricky maybe with someone who's wearing sort of looser clothing. But realistically, that's about it. They're the sort of worst things I can find to say about the mics. They're a great quality product, and if I had to give them, you know, a number of stars, I would give this 5 stars. They don't carry the Sennheiser name, but who cares? And yeah, I mean, it just doesn't matter because they do the job. They are a great tool. I suppose one other possible negative would be the fact that not everyone will like the fact that they're USB chargeable. Having a built-in battery in anything is a built-in point of failure. And with a lav mic pack, that might be a bad side, I suppose. I quite like the fact that I like it when you have something you can just stick 2 AA batteries in. Yeah, you've got to have the AA batteries, and yes, they've got to be charged and have them ready. But you know that product as a whole is never going to fail because the battery inside has just gone bad or reached the end of its natural sort of cycles and life. You'll always be able to get AA batteries, or probably for as long as a product like that is ever going to be used. So yeah, a rechargeable is very flexible, very handy, but could be seen as a negative. Apart from that, you know, great products. I would definitely recommend you go for something like this particularly if you need the ability to mic 2 people up. It's an incredibly good value way of doing it. So thank you very much for watching this review, and hope you like the look around the product. I'll be doing some other and slightly more detailed range tests on these in the future. That's something I haven't had a chance to do yet. But I will be looking at that in the future. And I'll also be putting a separate video out where I look at audio in a bit more detail. So trying out different mic positions and things. So with nothing fancy, no chatting, just simple kind of, here's the mic in this position, here's the mic in this position. Just a straight audio test video. So we'll put a package together of 3 videos for these mics: audio test, range test, and this overall unboxing overview and, you know, thoughts. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.